Hey everybody, welcome back. Today I am recording in a slightly different place, but still the same fun, exciting content. Today what I would like to do is just a brief overview of how to interact with the Cloud Shell, how to edit files, how to upload and download information from your virtual machines, and basically just a few kind of minor things because I know not everybody is familiar with basically remote servers, remote shells, and Google Cloud has its own set of interesting aspects as well. So just probably a short video here, but I wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of these things. So first and foremost, here I am in my Cloud Shell, and actually let me move myself over a little bit, so I'm gonna shift myself back over here in a moment, but I just want to really highlight again that this is going to be your default interface for Google Cloud. All of your projects are to be found under here. Be aware that this ID is kind of the important thing to take out of it, assuming that you are going to be interacting with this programmatically. Your search bar will take you anywhere. It's powered by Google Search, so it's pretty darn good, I think. Um, but what we were going to kind of go into here is this Cloud Shell editor. So I'm going to tick this open. It's going to provision a Cloud Shell, and we see this down here. And we're back. So yeah, here is your Cloud Shell, and this is a terminal that is specific to your Google Cloud environment. So this will allow you to interact with everything. Okay, I've got Cloud Shell demos elsewhere in the blog and various videos, but just be aware it is different from your compute VMs. And we're going to look at compute here in a moment too. Now, if I want to edit a file, I think I've got a post about opening the editor here. So this is the easy way to do it. Um, if you're not familiar with typical command line editing tools, right? We pop open a little explorer here. We get a nice little file editor. We can see our folders. We can see pretty much everything here on the side. Easy enough, right? But if we go back to the terminal, maybe you want to use a tool like I use when I edit my files. You don't want to open up this editor every single time. You could use Vi or Vim, which has a massive learning curve, but once you get into it, it's really a very powerful text editor. And honestly, personally, I install Vi extensions and everything. I've got it in my VS Code. I've got Vim for Windows, which I use for all my text editing. Um, when I used to develop full time, I had Vim extensions in Visual Studio proper. You can add it to Eclipse and IntelliJ, everything that's out there. But it's not always the easiest thing to use. So Vim or Vi are going to be baked into the Cloud Shell. I can say hello there, CIS680. I could save it, :W, save as test. So this would basically be saving a file. And really the purpose isn't to do a quick intro to Vim, but it's more that this tool is available. And then if I were to look for it, I would see, hey, there's my test file. I'm going to do a quick check, cat test. Hello there. Remove test. So Vim is one of my options. I could also use Emacs. I am not an Emacs person. I know a lot of people who do a lot of command line work love Emacs. I am not one of them. I am a Vim user. It's perfectly fine. Emacs is baked in there for you as well. To get out, I'm going to hit Control X, Control C, which is Command X, Command C for you Mac users. Although, not sure how that's going to play in with the terminal here in the cloud. But maybe you don't want to use Vim. Maybe you don't want to use Emacs. You could use Nano. Nano's a lot easier. You just start typing and life is good. These little carets here are control slash command replacements. So control X would escape. Um, and I'm going to discard all those changes. So I could use Vim, Emacs, Nano. I could use the editor. So basically, we just have a handful of tools. And again, this is right in the Cloud Shell. So if you, again, just to repeat myself multiple times because this can be confusing if you're in this environment, Cloud Shell, which my face is now hiding the method of activating it, this is how you programmatically interact with the entirety of Google Cloud. Okay? It's different from the compute engine virtual machines, where you probably have created a VM at this point, depending on where you're at in the modules. I'm kind of recording this one out of order. But if I were to say SSH into a instance, so I've created a virtual machine under Compute Engine, and this is a actual server that is running somewhere, this is a completely different interface. So this is basically like I am remoting in via SSH to some Linux server somewhere. Whereas with the Cloud Shell, I'm logging into Google servers directly and interacting with my cloud services. The difference, hopefully it's pretty clear, but if it's not, remember that when you click this SSH button, it's basically like you're saying SSH username at IP address to log in. And then we see here this was a Ubuntu 20 server, and then you would, if you're used to Linux servers, this should look pretty familiar. If you're not used to them, welcome to Linux servers. But the same commands are pretty much available here as well. So I could use vim, assuming that it's installed in Ubuntu 20. If not, you could do sudo apt install vim if you wanted to. I already have it. Emacs should be there as well. Oh, it's not there. Cool. So one example of the difference is there. Emacs is not installed. You can install it with apt or snap if you would prefer. But again, we are in a different server here. And I don't want to really harangue this point, but just be aware that there are differences between Compute Engine and between Cloud Shell. But one of the key things that I wanted to talk about here is this probably fits in a little bit nicer when we're talking about virtual machines, but let's say you want to upload or download a file to your server here. This is going to hold for any of these virtual machines. It's not going to be as easy as, say, opening up an FTP client and putting the IP address in and then clicking send. You're gonna have to do a little bit more handshaking. There's basically a key-based management system you have to follow if you want to go that route. You can also do that with SSH if you want. There are some guides in Google for actually setting that up if you don't want to use this browser-based interface. But if you want to upload and download stuff, click the gear icon here, upload file. And then, let's see, I've got, say, a .gitignore file, so this is just a random project I have. We see that it was uploaded, and it's going to always, 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 always put it into your home directory. So if I do an ls, here's that file. If I were to, let me remove this here. So our Visual Studio Code, clear this out. Let's go into our web directory here, var www.html. So we see now that I am in this location. Right before I was in tilde, which is shorthand for home. If I were to upload that file again, okay, it's going to finish, and I do an ls, it's going to show me the contents of the web directory. I don't see that file. Again, every single time it goes to your home directory, regardless of where you are on the system. So just kind of one thing to be aware of when you're uploading files. If I do ls tilde, there it is. I did ls var www Eric Fredericks. No, home Eric Fredericks. There it is. All right, so it's in our home directory. Can catch you off guard if you think that it is uploading to the current location. And the reason why I'm stressing that is if you're used to FTP or SFTP, typically it will upload to the directory you are in, and this tends to catch a lot of people off guard if you're not paying attention. You think, hey, where'd my file go? Other thing too, let's say you want to download a file. Slightly different process here as well. Let's say that I want to pull down this Visual Studio code.gitignore file, okay? Let's make this a little bit bigger here so we can see things. So again, I'm in HTML, we can stay here, doesn't really matter. Go back to the gear icon, download file. It's going to ask you for the path rather than give you a file picker. What this means is you have to know the exact location of that file on your file system here. So if I want that file in particular, it's /home, Eric Fredericks /Visual Studio Code.gitignore. And then it would download it, and it would pull it to wherever your downloads file folder typically is. And again, I'm just kind of stressing this because it is different than what you may be used to. If you want to upload things, it's going into your home directory. If you want to download things, you have to know the fully qualified path for downloading. So if I were to download this again, don't think this will work, but we'll see. Yeah, so it's not going to know what the tilde is. I just kind of wanted to A, sanity check because I was pretty sure that wasn't going to work, and B, show you what would happen if you tried to use any of your typical command line shortcuts. Anyway, just a short little video. Again, to summarize, Cloud Shell is different from an SSH session, which would also then be different from, say, a remote PowerShell session that you would get with a Windows type server. But Compute Engine, Shell, and Cloud Shell are different. Cloud Shell, or the virtual machine shell, upload and download, use this little gear icon to enable that to happen. Again, any questions, feel free to email me. Happy to answer them. Just kind of little niceties here with how to interact with the environments. And if you're asking how to upload and download files from the Cloud Shell, we'll get into that with storage buckets later on. So have a great day, everybody. Bye.